I would like to call the organizational meeting to order. All board members are present. I'd like to make an announcement at this time. Please be advised that in the event of a fire, emergency, and an evacuation should be necessary, an alarm will sound. Please note all marked emergency exits and evacuate well away from the building. At this time, we request that everyone turn their cell phones and other electronic devices to silent. Thank you. Okay. And Dr. Brown Hall?
I'll lead us in the pledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
There. Thank you.
Stand. Absolutely. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Brown Hall.
Absolutely.
At this time, I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Ms. Leatherbarrow, second. Ms. Bullen. Are there any discussion? All in favor? Everyone's in favor. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. So just for the record, the oath of offices were administered on July 1st and also on June 28th. On June 28th was Mrs. Leatherbarrow, and on July 1st was Superintendent Brown Hall and Mrs. Bleckinger and Mr. Bullen. And at this time, I'm going to do a second roll call, and all board members are officially seated at the table. Okay. Are there any board acknowledgements at this time? Teresa.
I just want to recognize all of the 3 high school graduations. It was a beautiful day with no rain and a long day if you went to all 3, but I was able to enjoy from YouTube, which was nice. But just congratulations to, of course, all of our graduates, but also just to acknowledge the administration at all 3 high schools who worked so hard to put on beautiful ceremonies. So thank you.
Yes.
Any others? Okay, moving on to a public expression. We will now have our public expression. We welcome to all who are here to observe this organizational meeting. Per policy 1510, the board has set aside 30 minutes for public expression, a time when we invite members of the community to share ideas and concerns with the board. Each person is given up to 3 minutes in which to address the board. At 2.5 minutes, you will be signaled with a yellow flag, so you may conclude your remarks. Thank you for your cooperation. And tonight, there is one member of the community that signed up, and it's Mr. Meekin.
Yep.
Come on up.
Thank you. I don't get all 30 minutes.
No.
So thanks for everybody for listening to me this morning. So I'm the father of 4 students in the district, including 2 adopted special needs sons. And I'm here really to speak about our youngest son, Joshua, one of those, and also the other special needs district kids like Joshua. So he just finished 6th grade as part of a self-contained 15-1 group at High Middle School. He represents a group of kids in the district who are best suited by an academic curriculum with small group modifications taught by a special ed teacher with selected integration into general ed classes. When Josh started in this program, it was offered only through 2nd grade, but as parents, we successfully petitioned the district to extend it through 4th grade. Keep in mind, this was not the original choice of the district. We were successful because we had access to experienced parents, advocates, and attorneys who educated us on the options that were presented, on the options not presented to us by the district. 2 years ago, we did the same, and services were extended through 6th grade. So that brings me to where I am here today. So here we are again. Despite the benefits to Josh and the other kids in his class, in Josh's case, progressing 3 grade levels in reading over the past 2 years as an example, the district has told us they have no current plans to continue the same program. This is consistent with our past experience, namely that the district typically starts with no, and then we try to negotiate from there. The original options proposed to us for this upcoming year were a single classroom BOCES program in Tonawanda or to mainstream Josh with supports at Transit Middle. We feel the first is too limiting, while the latter doesn't really appreciate his needs. And why would the district recommend moving a 13-year-old special ed kid with anxiety issues halfway through middle school to a new school? After multiple meetings, we were offered an open enrollment option at Heim, but we need to provide transportation because it's not considered his home school. But Heim is his home school. He knows the staff, he knows the teachers, and they know him. Currently, we think the Heim option is the best of the bad options presented to us by the district to date. We've asked district leadership to continue the 15-1 program, but we hear I would consider excuses like once kids go to 7th grade, additional credentials are required of the special ed teachers. I don't doubt those things to be true, but in the end, to me, it simply reflects the strategic choice made by the district to limit options for special needs kids. Whether this is for budget reasons, test score reasons, or something else, I really don't know, but we believe the district has a responsibility to offer a continuum of programming and is potentially not meeting its legal obligations, particularly after 6th grade for these kids. For us, the message is simple. Josh and the kids like Josh just aren't worth the effort. So why am I here? Of course, I'm here to advocate for Josh, but I'm also here to advocate for kids and parents like Josh, kids who need this balance of academic programming, but also special ed instruction, and parents like us who need to really be educated on what options are available to them through the special ed system, which they are not given by the district. So finally, I'll probably be back here in a year or two to continue to advocate. In the meantime, I just want to leave you with one question. Why do parents need advocates and attorneys to get a true understanding of what options are available to them if they're special ed kids? Ask yourself, is that the kind of district you want to represent? Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Megan.
Thank you.
At this time, this concludes public expression, and we will move on to the agenda item 6A, which is the adoption of the election process and election of officers. May I have a motion to approve and adopt the election process and the election of officers as presented? And a second? Stuart? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to B, the election of president for the Board of Education. At this time, is there a nomination for the president of the Board of Education? Ms. Kazmazak-Wagner?
I nominate Dr. Susan McClary for Board of Education President.
Dr. McClary, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Are there any other nominations for president of the Board of Education? Mr. Bedulin?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Mike Littman. I can speak this morning.
Okay. Dr. Littman, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay, at this time, I'll take a roll call vote, and if you would please say who you are voting for. Yes, an example, yes, Dr. McClary. Yes, Dr. Littman. I'll go, Mrs. Blackinger, we'll start with you.
Don't we have a chance to speak, given that historically listed that we each make comments first?
Would you like to make a comment?
I would, but I mean, Dr. McClary was nominated first, so she should make comments if she would like. But that's listed
McClary, would you like to
the
make?
policy that we should follow.
Okay. McClary?
I would just like to say that I appreciate that I have been nominated, and I feel that my background and experience on this board and other areas where I have been involved will serve to hopefully provide good leadership for everyone and the opportunity for others to come and speak with me, and I can learn and grow from that. Thank you.
Dr. Littman?
Yes, I'm ready. I understand I have 3 minutes. Be brave, be exciting, vote for change that benefits our schools. I have the most leadership experience of our candidates. I do appreciate the nomination, and I believe, having served as the board president for 2 terms, the vice president for 2 terms, and as being a member of the board for 10 years, my background, knowledge, skills, and experience will support our board's success. My involvement with NYSBA, including making multiple presentations at the annual state conference on education topics, and receiving both the School Board Achievement and the School Board Excellence Award. Educational leadership has been my life's work, as I have been in education for 45 years and I'm still going strong. A board is most successful when it has a strong, trustworthy, experienced leader. In my various leadership roles, I have focused on communication, especially in listening, consensus building, and dialoguing. I am objective and independent in my decision-making. I've been successful as an educator, receiving the Chancellor's Award for Excellence in Teaching in SUNY. I've been successful as a leader, serving as a leader on multiple boards, including running a department of 850 students and 40 faculty. I was selected for the Marquis Who's Who in America in 2022. A leader must have a vision. My vision and my strength is advocating for our students, our teachers, our administration, and community. I believe in following policies and procedures, and the Board of Education has policies and procedures that we should follow. I was away on a DEI activity with the U.S. Navy. When I came back, I talked to Mrs. Leatherbarrow and expressed my interest in serving as a board president. She told me that the officers were already selected. We had a discussion about the issue, which I won't get into. What we need is a strength of leadership and continuity of leadership going forward. Our board must focus on student achievement, student mental health, and staff mental health. We need to focus on health and wellness, special needs students, as well as fiscally responsible budgeting. Remember the term inclusion. All people must have equal access and resources. Bias leads to clouded decision-making. I find my exclusion from this decision process earlier offensive and clearly not in the spirit of our district's DEI policy. All board members are equal, and the president has a specific function, and I have successfully carried out this function, is listed in this handbook from NYSBA. So I do request your vote to keep the Board of Education a strong, inclusive, student-focused group. We are all supported by our community, and that is what builds our consensus. Our community wants to see positive change in our schools, and my experienced leadership was supported by my community in my election after 5 years off the board. I appreciate the opportunity to serve, and it all starts with respect for each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Littman.
Board members have the ability to comment.
Yeah.
Any comments from the?
Yes, I have a comment since my name was brought into it. First of all, I want to express gratitude to both Dr. McCleary and Dr. Littman for volunteering to be nominated and for expressing interest, having served in a leadership role for 5 out of the past 6 years. It does take a lot of courage, and it's a lot of extra work to be a board officer. So I'm grateful to both of you for stepping forward. But since my name was brought into it, I want to make it clear that first of all, when you're seeking a leadership position, a characteristic that's really important is honesty, because your team members need to be able to trust you. And I've always been an extremely straight shooter, and I had a wonderful conversation with Dr. McCleary, and I also had what I thought was a very nice conversation with you, Dr. Littman. And both individuals contacted me expressing interest in the position, which is typically what happens when someone's interested in being a board president on a school board. You make the phone calls and you try and secure the votes, because that's what it's about. It's about being able to secure 5 votes. And so I expressed to Dr. Littman via phone that I had already spoken with Dr. McCleary, and I intended to give her my support. I gave him a couple reasons, and one of those reasons was that he had previously already served as president in the past, and I felt that Dr. McCleary was also due that opportunity, since they both have remarkable resumes and have both basically dedicated their lives to public education in one form or another and to serve us. And that's to both of your credits. So I did explain that to you, Dr. Littman, and I'm sorry if you thought anything else of it. I did not arrange who was going to be the president. That's not correct. What I said to you was that I believe Dr. McCleary already has 5 votes because that's what she expressed to me. If you have 5 votes, then you will be the president and I will work well with you. If Dr. McCleary has 5 votes, then she will be the president and I will work well with her. But I do need to say that it's concerning to me, and it should be concerning to our board here, to have someone interested in a leadership position who's already sort of causing some drama. That's not cool. And that's not how we operate here in Williamsville. All right, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Leatherbarrow. Moving on to the election. Again, vote yes and for Dr. McCleary, or vote yes, Dr. Littman. I'll start off with Mrs. Blackinger.
Yes, Dr. McCleary.
Mr. Bulin.
Littman.
Mr. Biscaglia.
Yes, McCleary.
Ms. Kazmarek-Bogner.
Yes, Dr. McCleary.
Leatherbarrow.
Yes, for Dr. McCleary.
Dr. Littman.
I think I'll vote for Littman.
Dr. McCleary.
I think I'll vote for McCleary.
Ms. Bulin.
Yes, McCleary.
And Dr. Singh.
Yes, Dr. McCleary.
So at this time, Dr. McCleary was elected president of the Board of Education to serve 1-year term from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Congratulations, Dr. McCleary. Thank you. Okay, and moving on to the election of the vice president. Is there a nomination for the vice president of the Board of Education? Mrs. Leatherbarrow.
I would like to proudly nominate Dr. Swaroop Singh for Vice President of the Board of Education.
Dr. Singh, do you accept this nomination?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, are there any other nominations at this time? Seeing none, nominations are closed. We're going to take a vote. You just say yes or no for this vote. Mrs. Blackinger?
Yes.
Mr. Bulin? Mr. Biscaglia?
Yes.
Mrs. Kazmarek-Bogner?
Yes.
Mrs. Leatherbarrow?
Yes.
Dr. Littman?
Abstain.
Dr. McCleary?
Yes.
Ms. Poulin?
Yes.
And Dr. Singh?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, Dr. Singh, congratulations. You are the Vice President of the Board of from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Okay, so now on to, I will administer the oaths of office for the President and the Vice President of the Board of Education, and I'll do it, we'll step over there in front of the flag, and I will have the oaths ready.
Awesome.
You can stand right here, and we'll just rotate, saying I, and then state your name. Okay. You can both face me, kind of stand here, face the camera, right?
You should be. Yep, you can see. Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. So raise your right hand. Repeat after me, please. I state your name.
McCleary. Swear to say.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution President
Vice President.
of the Board of Education
of the Board of Education
for the Williamsville Central School District
for the Williamsville Central School District
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Okay.
We'll switch.
Ooh.
Okay. I'm ready.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Lynn Carey,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of District Clerk
the duties of District Clerk
for the Williamsville Central School District
for the Liaison Central School District
according to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, at this time, I will turn over. So the board president will now take over the meeting.
What a cute little shoe you have on. I didn't see that earlier.
You're here.
After living together the whole year.
You're all set? Everything you need? Do you need your laptop?
No,
Are you sure?
yeah, I'm just going to use paper. Okay. Sorry. All right. Okay. As we continue, first of all, I would like to thank the board for its vote of confidence with a special thank you to Mrs. Leatherbarrow, whose legacy leaves me with a great challenge in moving forward this year. We are on item number 8, annual appointments. Per policy 1320, I wish to appoint Mrs. Poulin to serve as parliamentarian timekeeper for the 2022-2023 fiscal year.
Oh.
And is there a motion to approve the agenda items 8B through 14A as presented? Do I have a motion? Dr. Littman, second. Dr. Singh, any discussion?
Good shape.
All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Or, I'm sorry. I'm already,
That's okay. Did Dr. Singh need to abstain from one of the items in that?
Oh, I don't know.
Did you need to abstain or no longer the bank item?
Oh, I don't love it. I meant it anymore.
Got it. So we're good.
Moved up in the
you
world.
saved me.
Going sideways, but
All right.
I feel big.
Next, we are on item 15. Which is our Board of Education liaison guidelines and appointments for 2022-23. The actual approval of the district-wide liaison guidelines and assignments will be at the August 9th, 2022 regular board meeting. However, at this time, does anyone have any questions or comments on the assignments that have been listed for us in board docs? Mrs. Leatherbarrow.
Yeah, I just want to thank Ms. Poulin. I had initially really wanted to take SIAC, but there's an opportunity for my daughter to be on that team, which I thought would be a nice mom-daughter opportunity. Not so much for her. So I do want to respect a 14-year-old girl's right to go to school without her mom being on the committee. So I'll take myself off of that. And thank you, Ms. Poulin, for volunteering to take that assignment.
Absolutely.
The only other thing I would consider is for ECASB, the legislative team. if there's an alternate, that would be really helpful because I have attended meetings there last year where they did not have a quorum and therefore they weren't able to do official business. If we don't approve an alternate next year, then what I would probably do is just put it up open to the whole group to see if someone was interested in attending, if we don't have an actual alternate on the record. But I will just put a plug in for ECASB because if anyone sitting here on the board is interested in a board leadership role in the future, it's really valuable to become involved with the Erie County Association of School Boards because that's how you make the connections. You really form connections with other school board members from across Erie County. And education is all about networking and who you know and connections, as is much of the world these days. So, I would highly recommend that for anyone that was interested in a leadership role in the future.
Is anyone interested in becoming the alternate? Mrs. Kasmerick-Bogner.
Yes, I would be interested in being the alternate for the legislative team, and I am also willing to do the ECASB Budget and Finance team as the board rep if there is no one else that is interested in doing so.
Can I speak to that real quick?
Absolutely.
It is a good idea if you're able to take both because typically the meetings are scheduled on the same night and the budget and finance is usually just the hour before the legislative team meeting and it's not as often. It's maybe 3 times a year. It's a little tricky for me to be that far from my family.
Understood.
So I have to be mindful of that.
Definitely appreciate that. Mrs. Kasmerick-Bogner. Anyone else have questions or comments, suggestions on any of the assignments?
I see there needs to be no, never mind. I read it wrong. Take that back.
Okay. I have one question, and I don't know who would be able to answer this. In terms of the audit committee, it's my understanding that the president has to be a member of the audit committee.
So I learned that I was obviously the president last year and wasn't on the audit committee, but when I had a meeting with the commissioner, the auditor from the commissioner's firm,
Controller's audit?
comptroller, thank you. He told me that in the future, the president of the board should be on the auditing team because the board president is the fiscal officer for the board, which does make sense because if you are signing contracts, which you will be, and after the board has approved them, it does make sense for the president to take up that role.
All right.
But
Dr.
let's
Littman?
say a minimum of 3. So should we nominate you to serve on that committee, or you could just appoint?
Yeah, she wouldn't have to nominate herself because under board policy, the president sets the
Serves
committees.
there anyway.
But to your point, I think there's no harm in having 4 as long as we don't have a quorum of 5.
Yes.
And that was my concern I was going to express about the DEI committee, that there are currently 5 people listed.
Oh, good point.
And we can't have 5.
Yeah.
No, we can't.
Good point. If I may come back to that in just a moment, Ms. Poulin, can we have a decision in terms of the audit committee? Would you like me to present myself forward and just work on it or have it go through?
Yes, you don't even have to do that because under one of our board policies that deals with the duties of the president, you have the authority to appoint committees.
Okay.
So you would be able to put that forward in the draft for next month's, and then the approval is more of an approval of the guidelines, and just that we are all making the commitment to honor the committee we're assigned to.
Thank you for that clarification, Mrs. Kessler.
And I'd be willing to step down from the audit committee since I picked up that other role. So if it makes more sense just to keep 3 people on there, I'm willing to step down. But I'm also willing to stay on it. Doesn't matter really.
I, of course, would love you to stay. But if you feel that it's better not to have that many people
No,
on it.
I'll remain. Dr. Brownhall, do you have any comments in terms of, do you believe there's any reason not to have 4 people?
No.
Okay, well then I'll remain.
As long as it's not a quorum for, it's fine.
Okay, then I'll remain on it.
All right, thank you. So now to go back to Ms. Poulin's comment on the DEI committee.
Letter G.
Yes, that Mr. Poulin had expressed an interest in joining the team.
Did indeed.
And then that brings up a good point of there then being 5 people. And we can't have on any of the items, we can never have 5 people on a committee. If anyone who is already on the committee is interested in not being on it, the other piece of it is that the particular committee, I believe, ends in October, correct?
October, and it may extend to November. And this committee is the committee responsible for developing the district DEI plan. We've only had 2 meetings so far. After we have the plan, this committee then will look at implementation, but we won't be meeting every month as we are now. So after we have the plan developed in October, possibly November at the latest, then we would schedule maybe 1 or 2 additional meetings throughout the school year just to look at implementation of the plan.
Because that's what I'm wondering, if perhaps it could stay with the people who had started it until October, November, and then
Revisit.
and then certainly have Mr. Poulin come on in October or November. Does that seem acceptable to you?
Sure.
And that is our piece. Thank you for bringing that up about the 5 members. Anyone else have other comments on DEI?
You just sort of answered it. That was going to be my question for Superintendent Brown Hall. Just is it in your, because I'm not a part of that work, in your opinion, is it beneficial for the individuals who started that work to complete that work?
It is, because we are on a path, right, to get a completed finished product. And there's been a lot of pre-work, if you will, and there's a good amount of homework, if you will, that's required for our July 26th meeting. And so it would be beneficial for everyone that has started to remain on.
Okay, thank you.
And that's acceptable to you? All right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments about any of the positions? As was stated, we're not approving or finalizing these until August, but certainly we need to have conversations on any of the other open spaces.
I have one other question, President McCleary.
Yes.
So, Dr. Littman, I know you were the voting delegate for NYSBA. NYSBA is recommending that the voting delegate also be their advocacy representative. Do you
Yes.
think that would be something you'd be
I would be
interested in?
glad to do that. Thank you for suggesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
All right. Because I too was going to ask about the advocacy representative, and that's perfect. Takes
Thank
care of
you.
that.
Absolutely. And that would be really helpful.
Thank you. All right. So at this point, I think we've hopefully answered any questions or thoughts about assignments. All right.
Dr. McCleary?
Yes.
I just want to bring attention to the guidelines at the top. I think it's really important, especially since we do have a few new board members this year, that we all just are aware of these guidelines. I know we will be having a retreat in August, hopefully, so maybe these guidelines will be something we can further discuss there. I'm in favor of them, but I do think they deserve some discussion at our retreat if possible, because there have been instances in the past where if we speak to answer a question at a PTA meeting, for example, we want to make sure we're speaking in a unified voice and that we are sharing the outcome of either a board vote, or we are sharing a piece of information that the superintendent has shared with the board, perhaps in a community update or a weekly update, and that we're not just speaking, giving our opinion and confusing people, because that could be confusing to the public, especially if you have children at more than one school. If you go to 2 PTAs and you have 2 different board members and you ask the same question, if you get 2 different answers, that could be problematic. So I just wanted to bring that up, that for all of us to really look at those guidelines, and also completing that liaison report on time, like within a few days, is really important. It's important to do it in a timely manner. That way, if there is an issue that's shared with the board member, that the rest of the board can be notified about it so that we can try and resolve it.
Thank you. Yes, we will add that to our agenda and plans for our August 11th retreat. All right. Now, is there a motion to approve the agenda items 16A through 16E as presented? Mrs. Blackinger. Second. Mrs. Leatherbarrow. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And now, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 18, personnel, 19, business, and 20, special needs and student activities as presented? Mrs. Kazmarek-Bogner, second. Dr. Littman, any discussion? All right. All in favor? Thank you. Carried unanimously. And again, I think do you need to do a roll call vote?
Not if it's unanimous.
No, I'm not challenging.
Okay.
Thank you. I would like to congratulate the newly appointed assistant principals. Mill Middle School will have Ian Lewis, and North High School will have Catherine Wendling. Either of you like the opportunity to come and address the board?
Good evening. I want to say a thank you to Dr. Brown Hall and the leadership team and the Board of Ed for this appointment. I'm so excited to move forward to North High School. I was at an interim at North High School back in 2018, just for a short time. I fell in love with the community and the traditions and everything that the school offered, and I'm just elated to be back at North. So again, thank you. And also thank you to Mr. Bob Caniglio for being here tonight and supporting me. And I look forward just to a great partnership with he and the administrative team. So thank you.
Mr. Lewis?
Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank the board for welcoming me into the community. I'm very excited to get to work. I've been in education for a little over 12 years, and I am convinced that every experience in my path has led me to the Williamsville Central School District. So I want to thank Dr. Darren Brown Hall, Lori Hillary back there, and the board. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you in our hallways and in our building. So have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to pause for just a moment before Mr. Lewis and Ms. Wendling sit down. If you would come up over here to join the superintendent for some pictures.
Dr. McLean?
Me.
Okay.
Over there.
Good. It's a nice photo.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Go to these, we did business.
And I have noticed that we need to go back to item 16F, which is our community forums that will be held in the fall of 2022 and the spring of 2023. The dates and locations will be discussed at future board meetings, but I would like to request if there is someone who is willing to create like a survey monkey or something of possible fall and spring dates for the forum. Mrs. Leatherbarrow.
Do it. It's no problem.
Thank you. So we will wait to hear from you on those various possibilities. The only other question I would ask to help Mrs. Leatherbarrow, last year we had a community forum on a Saturday, and then the other one that we had was after one of the budget workshops that same evening. What is the board's preference based on perhaps what you've heard in the community of interest of individuals of what they would like to do, what they felt was the best choice? Anyone have any comments?
We had a lot more people at the Saturday morning one. And I don't know if that was just situational, because it was in the midst of whether we're going to continue wearing masks and all of those issues going on. So I don't know if that was a factor. But it did seem like it had less time constraints for people. There were some coming and going. When we had the one after the budget hearing, we didn't have many people at all. So
I think that was the first year that we did one after the budget hearing. We thought we'd try it. Mr.
I
Bolin?
would just say that I've attended a couple of those in the past. I would say Saturday mornings probably work the best.
Or,
At least from the ones I attended. That's the ones I went to.
all right. So both the fall and the spring, it's likely to look towards a Saturday.
No.
No? All right, let's hear from others.
I
Dr. Lippman?
know Saturday is an important day. For some people, it's the Sabbath. I think we need to make sure we have an opportunity in the evening. And because you have to remember, some people coach on the weekend, some people have other obligations. And I think, trying again on an evening night, however we can figure that out, might have value. It might not have value, but, I think it should still be an option.
All right, thank you for your input.
Would it please the board if I tried to do like a Saturday for the fall one and a weekday, but not the same day as the budget meeting for the spring one? Would that
That would
please
work.
the board, so it's like a compromise? All right, I'll try and get the fall. I'll have them be separate survey monkeys, Google forms or doodles, whatever. But I'll get the fall one going so we can at least get that date on the calendar as soon as possible.
do we have dates from the schools of when their PTA meetings and those kinds of information?
With Ms. Conchinetti and Ms. Our district clerk, yes.
Yeah.
I got the connections.
Mr. Biscaglia?
Do we have any idea for the format of these? Last year, I think I believe it was an issue with having questions sent in via email and then having questions asked here. I don't know if that's something we have to discuss now, but I think that's something we should keep in our side pocket to discuss later if that has to be.
Because I do believe we did not do that for the fall one
No.
on the Saturday, and that perhaps we did it because it was already here, and so the people that couldn't attend had the opportunity to send in questions. But I think you're absolutely right that that's part of our discussion. It should be how we're going to do, if we do added questions, or if we do only those that show up and so forth. But yes, we will make sure that we also cover that. Thank you.
And if I may, and location, I know for the fall when we did it at the Commons at East High School, and it seemed just to be less formal.
Mhm.
And I think, it had a more of a free-flowing dialogue. So that might just be to add to the board discussion.
Mhm. Yes, thank you. Anything else?
Dr. McCleary, I can just add that I heard from a few community members that were a little intimidated by it being on YouTube. there were people that came to the spring one that wanted to speak, but then when they realized there was going to be a YouTube and like it would be like saved, they sat and they didn't speak. And so the feedback I heard was just having it be a little bit less informal or more informal, sort of like our fall one where you can come and go. You don't feel like you have to be there the whole time, because sometimes you're dropping off someone at the event and you're coming and going. And so parents do or taxis. So I think that's probably the
Okay. And then we could also investigate eventually where, even if we do it as an evening one, it does not have to be here. It could also be in a building
right.
or somewhere.
Yeah, sounds good.
Right, thank you. That's it. All right. Now, at this time, I would like to thank the following retirees for their service to the district. Gail Cryer, a Lote teacher from Casey Middle, who is retiring January 1st after 21 years of service. Dr. John McKenna, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, retiring January 17th after 5 years of service. Andrea Burke Harris, Physical Therapist district-wide for 8 years of service. Kathleen DeVald, Teacher Aide, East High School, 8 years of service. Mariel Heath, Teacher Aide, Mill Middle School, 20 years of service. Ann Horner, Microcomputer Support Technician, East High School, retiring August 29th with 22 years of service. And Thomas Moskal, Maintenance Mechanic Facilities Department, retiring October 28th with 31 years of service. We congratulate all of these individuals. Thank you. Item 21, the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the June 14th regular board meeting minutes? Dr. Singh, is there a second? Ms. Poulin, are there any corrections? Okay. May I have then a motion? We have the motions. May I then have a vote? All those in favor of approval of the board minutes?
If you weren't on the board,
You
you
gotta
have to
abstain.
abstain.
Yeah, you have to abstain.
I abstain. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried 7-0-2. Appreciate that. And 22 is the president's report. The Western New York Law Conference, sponsored by the Western New York Educational Service Council and the Erie County Association of School Boards, is Thursday, August 3rd, 2022. Attending from the board are Ms. Poulin and myself. Others attending are Dr. Brown Hall, Mr. Scansuzo, Ms. Cooper, and Dr. McKenna. Does anyone else want to join at this point? Thank you. In terms of upcoming meetings, there will be a district-wide DEI committee meeting on July 26th via Zoom. Attending from the board will be Dr. Littman, myself, Ms. Poulin, and Dr. Singh at that point. Yes.
Question. Can I attend as a member of the community, or because I'm on the board, it'll create a quorum and I cannot attend?
You cannot, unfortunately. There are, of course, community members on the committee.
No, I understand that. It just seems strange that as a board member, I lose my right as a community member.
So what we've learned from our training is that your board hat always supersedes everything. So we're always wearing a board hat.
Even in Wegmans, you're.
And at Wegmans.
And even if you were a community member, those were pre-selected from the community members that sent in letters of interest. So we already have 10 on there. And so it wouldn't even be a space for a community member at this time.
Thank you. In terms of prior meetings, there was a district-wide communication committee meeting on June 16th, and attending were Mr. Biscaglia and Mrs. Kaczmarek-Bogner, and their report is in board docs. And also a report in board docs from the district-wide DEI committee meeting that was held on June 21st, 2022. Other prior events were our high school graduations. North High School was held on Saturday, June 25th at North High School Athletic Fields at 10 o'clock. East High School was held Saturday, June 25th at East High School on their athletic fields at noon. And South High School was held Saturday, June 25th at South High School at 6 p.m. Our graduations were held, as I said, on June 25th at all three high schools. A huge thank you to the many staff members who planned each of these ceremonies, and a special commendation to our facilities and grounds crew for making everything look fantastic for our graduates and their families. Again, a hearty thank you to all who were involved. Does any other board member like to make a comment? I know that Mrs. Leatherberry had a chance earlier. Does anyone else like to make a comment about the graduations, ones that perhaps you attended? No? All right. Thank you. Our next item is the Erie County Association of School Boards. And prior meetings were the executive board meeting on June 16th. As a member of the executive committee, I did attend that meeting. And the ECASB mandatory new board members trainings were attended by Mrs. Blackinger and Mr. Poulin. And those were the governance and fiscal oversight trainings on June 6th, 11th, 21st, and 25th. Item C, membership dues for the Erie County Association of School Boards. Would someone like to make a motion to resolve to renew the board's membership for the Erie County Association of School Boards and authorize the payment of $9,489 for the 22-23 annual membership dues? Dr. Singh, do we have a second? I'm sorry. Mr. Biscaglia? Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Unanimous. Does anyone else have anything to report under ECASB? Okay. Item D, New York State School Board Associations, or NYSBA. The upcoming event is the 2022 Summer Law Conference in person at various locations or virtual throughout the state. Is anyone from the board interested in attending? All right, thank you. Next, the virtual annual business meeting, Monday, October 17th, is being attended by Dr. Littman.
Yes.
And the NYSBA Convention and Education Expo in Syracuse from October 27th to Saturday, October 29th. At this point, Mr. Poulin is attending. Are there any other board members who are interested? All right. So, Dr. Littman, Leatherbarrow,
Yes, please.
anyone else?
Oh, Syracuse.
I'm still deciding.
Right?
Yeah,
Miss-
maybe.
So Mrs. Kaczmarek-Bogner and Ms. Poulin are maybes. I will refer to Mrs. Carey, and she can check to see when the deadline is as to when you have to make your decision. But thank you.
By
It's-
the August 9th board meeting.
That's true, because we will approve you on August 9th. Any others? All right. Does anybody else have anything under NISBA to discuss? Okay. Item E is the superintendent's evaluation. Members of the 2021-2022 Board of Education conducted an evaluation of Superintendent Brown Hall in June of 2022 and shared feedback with the superintendent during an executive session held on June 14th, 2022. Each board member participated in the superintendent evaluation process using the Super Eval platform. Superintendent Brown Hall was evaluated in 5 standard areas plus 4 annual goals and received an overall rating of highly effective. The ratings from all 9 board members were generally consistent with the superintendent's self-evaluation, which board members were able to read before completing the individual reviews. Are there any comments from the board about the superintendent's evaluation? Mrs. Leatherbarrow.
Thank you, President McCleary. I was the president that ran that process, and I just want to thank all of the current board members and our 2 past board members, because we did have all 9 members of the Board of Education demonstrate that they put forward a considerable amount of time on their own to write very thoughtful comments for each standard. We reviewed them, as Dr. McCleary said, and I just also want to point out that the actual document, the PDF, is available for the public. It's in public content right here in Board Docs. It's searchable in Board Docs after tonight. So it's all there for you. But, as you gave a very nice summary, so thank you for that. If anyone in the community is interested in viewing it, we listed in public access, and we do that on purpose to be open and transparent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Else? All right. We are on to number 23, which is the superintendent's report. And for our community update, I will turn it over to Dr. Brown Hall.
Well, thank you very much, Board President McCleary. I have to get used to saying that. I'll practice, I promise. All right, Nick, can you fire it up, please? Thank you.
Oh.
I was hoping one of these would work. There we go. So first, and I know former President Leatherbarrow spoke about it, Dr. McCleary spoke about it, but our high school graduations were absolutely wonderful. Although the day was hot, it was a beautiful sunny day. It allowed for our graduates, our parents, grandparents to all be in a celebratory mood. And so it was a phenomenal day. I do want to thank all the administrators and their teams also for the efficiency by which they had their graduation ceremonies. It was greatly appreciated by the parents and the students, because there were a lot of students to graduate, but it was a great time had by all. So it was a great day. There was a Wix mail sent to seniors and families to download the ceremonies also, so that you can still see them if anybody wants to see them. So it was a great time. Administration changes. So we want to wish good luck to our principal of KC Middle School, Mr. Pete Dottmeyer. Many of you know that he is leaving the district to accept a position in Iroquois. That is his home district. So we will miss him greatly. He's been a great administrator for us and a phenomenal asset to KC Middle School. So we are in the process now of reviewing the applications to schedule interviews for the principalship at KC Middle School. But we wish Pete Dottmeyer the best of luck in his new endeavors. And as you saw this evening, we congratulated 2 new assistant principals, one new to the district, one moving from elementary to high school. So Mr. Ian Lewis is our new assistant principal at Mill Middle School, and Kate Wendling, who is an assistant principal at Forest Elementary, but who also is our summer school special education principal, will be the assistant principal at Williamsville North High School. We want to congratulate them, and we look for great things coming from both of them. Next, our climate and communication survey. As many of you know, that survey closed the end of June. The areas of focus were engagement, safety, environment, and communication. And we are in the process now of reviewing that data, disaggregating it, and we will make it publicly available on the district's website. And so Judy Deem, along with Nick Filipowski, Dr. Marie Balin, are all working to make sure we have that data in a format so that it's easily digestible by our community. And so that will be coming momentarily. DEI and Communications Committees, we've already spoken about some of them this evening, but the DEI Committee, we've met twice already, and our next meeting is July 26th. The Communications Committee, we've had one meeting on June 16th, and the next meeting is July 25th. So we are very excited because this pool is not only our community members in, but our teachers in, our staff members in, and our board members in for both of these committees. So we can really get some true stakeholder input and feedback as we develop our plans and we better our communications plan for our district, which will also ultimately result in a new enhanced district website. Summer school information. I got to say, I went over to the special education summer school today. It was the first day and things were running very smoothly. It's up and running. We were able to accommodate, as many of you read the email I sent you, many of our students from BOCES that were not able to be accommodated by BOCES. So I want to publicly thank Kate Wendling, the principal. I want to also thank Assistant Superintendent Scanzuzo and his team for making sure that we accommodated all of our Williamsville students in our special education summer school program. So thank you very much for that. Additional summer school information, we have all the contact information here. So it is on the summer school website, but we also have it here. So if anyone wants to go to Board Docs, download this presentation, you can actually print this page out, put it on your fridge, put it in your handy planner if you want, so you have the information handy. So I know parents contact the summer school administrators frequently or when needed, so all that information is available. Our high school session will begin July 12th, which is next week, and our elementary middle school session begins on July 13th. So the principals, Heidi Buffamonte, Patrick Quast, Courtney Charleston Smith, and Nick Suhana are working tirelessly planning to make sure we have smooth openings for all of our other summer school programs.
Superintendent Brown Hall?
Yes.
Could the principals for each summer school program, could their emails be added to that contact sheet?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not everyone knows how to figure out the emails.
No problem.
Yeah.
Then we will do that. Absolutely. Good suggestion. Health and safety. So we sent a Wix mail to families and staff regarding health and safety for summer school and our district programs, the requirements that are necessary for our health and safety guidelines. We will also be hosting 2 additional COVID at-home test kit distributions next week, Thursday, July 14th, and Thursday, August 18th. So additional details will be sent to families and faculty and staff. So we're planning on distributing 2 COVID-19 test kits for students and 1 COVID-19 test kit for faculty and staff on those days. We have plenty. We are very, very grateful to the governor's office. We actually have over 35,000 in stock. So we're able to make sure we have enough for our families for the summertime also. They will not be delivering anymore to us over the summer, but we will make sure we distribute what we have to our families and our staff. So this was a phenomenal video. Our some of our administrators went on the autism nature trail, and I think, Nick, you're going to play that right now, correct?
Today, the Williamsville administrators had the opportunity to tour the Autism Nature Trail at Letchworth State Park. It was really a tremendous opportunity for us to learn how to better support our students with sensory needs and explore this space that's such a great resource to be able to support the whole child. And there are so many things available here at this trail that really speak to all the different senses that a child would have. And what a wonderful resource just to have so locally.
The Autism Nature Trail at Letchworth State Park is a 1-mile loop that is really an experience in nature. And we've designed it specifically for persons with autism and other developmental disabilities, but it is appropriate for everyone, all abilities and all ages. There are 8 interactive stations along the trail. The first is the sensory station, which is a chance to introduce the visitor to things that might be encountered along the trail. Could be something as simple as pine cones or even shed deer antlers. At the halfway point in the trail, the reflection knoll gives the visitor a chance to sit quietly, to enjoy the sounds of the forest, and also to regroup a little. We've created a series of alone zones throughout the trail to give people a chance to stay with the trail, but not leave it, to relax, to be able to observe, but maybe not participate, and to feel that they are safe physically and emotionally. The whole child includes his or her place in nature. And that's why this project was so important to the creators, that we made nature accessible and interesting and enjoyable to absolutely everyone.
I think an opportunity like this is extremely important. All the learning experiences they can get just walking through this awesome trail with all these amazing opportunities. For students with disabilities and students without disabilities is a great learning experience and a really good learning tool that's extremely educational. It's amazing that we have it just about an hour down the road from Williamsville.
I think coming back from this, we bring back a greater level of awareness for some of the sensory needs that some of our students have, but really this would benefit anyone of any age, of any level of ability or disability. It's just a wonderful place to come and visit. It's calm, it's got a lot to offer everyone.
That was awesome. So thank you, Nick, for that footage. And I want to thank our administrators for participating in that, especially that idea of the alone zones, right? Very, very peaceful. All right, that is the end of the community update for July 5th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Brown Hall. Under 23B, we have our policy updates from the 4000 series. May I have a motion to take from the table policy updates for the Administration 4000 series? Mrs. Leatherbarrow, second. Ms. Poulin. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. May I have a motion for the second reading and adoption of policy updates from the Administration 4000 series as presented? Ms. Kasmerick-Bogner, second. Mrs. Leatherbarrow, any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Under number 24, Finance. Would someone like to make a motion to resolve and approve the extension of the athletic trainer contract in 24A and the agreement for payment in lieu of taxes, or pilot, in 24B as presented? Ms. Poulin, second. Dr. Singh, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Carried unanimously. There are no matters to discuss under 25 legislative or 26 curriculum. Number 27A, would someone like to make a motion to approve the tenure recommendation as presented? Ms. Poulin, second. Mrs. Leatherbarrow, any discussion?
I just wanted to share with the community and our new board members that we did previously review this recommendation in an executive session, as we always do for any tenure recommendations. Tenure is something that, as board members, we take very seriously because it's a long-term position with our district and our students. And this person is very deserving in my eyes.
Yes, I totally agree. Thank you.
And I just wanted to comment on that. I had the opportunity to observe this person interact with students at the graduation. And I cannot say that there are very many high school administrators who would be hugged by students. And that was just a good testament to how student focused this person is. So I agree, very deserving.
Thank you. That was the perfect example. Under 28, district facilities.
Going to vote.
Right. All those in favor of this tenure? Thank you. Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Number 28, district facilities and support services. We have no matters to discuss under 28. Under 29, the district safety plan presentation and public hearing. To begin with, a review of the district safety plan that I turn over to Dr. Brown Hall for you to discuss the district safety plan.
Absolutely, and I thank you very much. And I want to thank Assistant Superintendent Scanzuzo and his team for working again on the district safety plan. And after tonight will be it will begin the 30-day comment period for the public to review the plan and then offer comments, and then for board adoption in August. But I really want to encourage the public, and I know the board has done that because we received the questions. It is a 155-page document, but there are such important parts to this document because we have the district-wide, the members on there, the review and public comment period, it speaks about that. But we also have general emergency response planning in there, responding to threats and acts of violence in there. We have communication with others, prevention and intervention strategies, and we have the appendices, the buildings covered by the district-wide plan, the MOU between Williamsville and the Amherst Police Department, the communicable disease continuity of operations plan. So it's a very detailed plan. It's very thorough. So I encourage everyone to read over it because it is what our district goes to when we have incidents that we need to consult the district-wide safety plan. You know, our school buildings consult their building-wide plan also. So I do want to encourage everyone to take a look at that and then submit whatever questions you have. Is there anything you would like to add, Assistant Superintendent Scanzuzo?
At this point, I'd just like to say that I'm happy that all of our administrators and the challenges that they're faced at their buildings have developed plans. They practice them. They have safety building teams that meet monthly, sometimes more than that, depending on what the interest and needs are. And I think this capital improvement project that we have in our buildings is going to add another layer. So as that comes to a completion, each building will probably have to make some fine tuning, some changes, and we'll do that in conjunction with Dennis Quazala, who's a safety officer at Irwin Bosse's, as well as the Amherst Police Department, who comes in and kind of really consults with how we do things so that when they arrive, they understand what our practice is going to be and what our expectations are for our students and staff in the event of an emergency, how we evacuate, how we shelter in place, how we're in a lockdown, so that they can be more familiar and in tune with what happens, so that it's a seamless transition when they take over.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Assistant Superintendent Scanzuzo. And I can't say enough about the partnership we have with the Amherst Police Department. We really depend on them, and they've been a great partner with this work. So I want to thank them also.
Are there any questions from the board? Dr. Lippman.
Comment. And we all know we have a strongly developed safety plan, and it's disseminated, and we're gathering information starting July 6th. But it just seems in the timetable of people's lives, and I know we have to have this ready for the start of the school year, that the time of having people comment about it in the summer, when it may be a high priority to them, but maybe not. Did I just think the timetable, to me, is somewhat problematic. So I don't know if what comments. It just seems that I know we have a timetable to stick to and all of that, but it just seems from a logical standpoint, the people in the summer when the kids aren't in school, I think may be less concerned about this than at other times. So I don't know if there's.
I'm waiting for your recommendation. I thought that was coming.
Well, yeah, I don't. It's sort of a discussion. I don't know if we should be. How many comments do we typically get in Mr. Scanzuzo may know that, but we'll know in the 30 days. But if, I don't know historically if people comment, or since it's in the summer, people don't comment.
I
Comment anyway.
Yeah.
We've had the public expressions on public forums on many things that rarely do people show up. But I just
To do it again.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that, something as important as the safety plan, something that's not just pushed through in the summer without maybe as much public feedback and notice is maybe useful.
Yeah, I think the time frame is I think your point is valid, but I think in an effort to have the 30-day period, we want to have it implemented and ready to go for the start of the school year. So I know that a few years back when I started in this position, the state came out and said that we should have this happening in July.
Okay.
Like we are right now. We had it in August and it was approved in September, and we had to go back and kind of do it again. So having said that, it really is to just have this in place before the start of the school year.
Yeah, so it fits in the timetable.
It fits in the timetable
of what we need to do.
Correct.
Yeah, it just seems, in my mind that something is important like this, is in the summer.
Mrs. Leatherbarrow.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments, Dr. Lippman. I was on the board the first year that the state required that a public hearing be held for this, and even then, no one really spoke to it. I agree with your advocacy to encourage all stakeholders to be involved and attend and come and speak. I just wanted to point out that I did ask a couple questions via email, and I wanted to thank you for the answer to those questions. One of the questions I asked was, I know the board doesn't see each individual building's plan, but I asked if, who was a part of the building-based plans, because I really having worked in the school for so long, I knew that your school clerks, your custodial staff, your teacher assistants, those people are the eyes and ears of the building. Like, they know everything that's going on, oftentimes more than the principal might know. From something in terms of like who leaves the door open or who,
right.
That type of stuff, those people know the answers. And so I was happy to know that the building-based teams are very inclusive of the entire school building.
Right.
I also just wanted to point out that it's education law, and it's explained here in the background information, but the education law 2801 requires that the emergency response plan for each building be kept confidential. And that was something that was confusing to me when I first joined the board, because it looks as if the district safety plan is just a template. And so that was my question, but it's really like, this is like, there's an audit, a safety audit checklist. These are recommendations, but then my understanding is that the deeper conversations happen in each building, because that would make sense. Each building is laid out differently. Your demographics in the building, the age of the students, all that stuff is different. So I just wanted to share that I asked those questions and confirm those answers.
Any other board comments? Ms. Kazmarek-Bogner?
Just to follow up on what Dr. Lippman said, I don't know, are there any communications planned to go out to the school community anytime before the end of the 30-day period? And if so, would it make sense to add something about the public comment period for the safety plan?
We definitely could.
Okay, thank you.
Good idea. Anyone else? All right. Thank you. We will now hold a public hearing on the district safety plan. Anyone that would like to address the board regarding the district safety plan, please step up to the podium at this time. Seeing none, we will go on, but I do appreciate the comments that were made about
Absolutely.
Sending more information out to our community members. Thank you.
Good point. We will definitely do that.
Under item 30, would someone like to make a motion to approve the appointment of the impartial hearing officers in item 30A, and membership for the Committee on Special Education as presented in 30B. Ms. Poulin, second. Dr. Lippman, any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, carried unanimously. Does anyone have any matter to discuss under the Committee of the Whole? All right, thank you. Is there any correspondence that anyone wants to discuss? All right. Our next regular board meeting will be held on Tuesday, August 9th at 7 p.m. We are now going into an executive session. May I have a motion to adjourn the organizational board meeting and recess into executive session to discuss the superintendent's employment matters relating to particular persons, and sale of property? Anyone motion?
Discussing the sale of property.
And
Yes.
I apologize, we are not going to be discussing the sale of property. But Mr. Bullen, a second? Dr. Singh? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So we will now adjourn into executive session.
Gavel.
Good job. Congratulations.